Hey everyone, back with another Lex Talk episode, but this one is actually going to be a precursor to my eventual Mothership um, one-shot or short campaign. Still deciding on that. But what I want this specific episode to be about is my hopes for it. Like, what am I trying to achieve? So, as you guys know, I'm moving. Um, well, in progress of moving. At least the next few weeks, we had a window of time to move very slowly. And as I get my next place ready to go, I'm going to be dedicating a corner of it as my studio space. So I hope to have an actual background that doesn't have the reliance of AI and, to showcase my little collection. Because right now my collection is in some of it's in boxes and some of it's in the usual nooks. But for Mothership, as I watched a tutorial recently, just refresh my memory of the game because when I don't play a game for a while, or at least I haven't played actually in person yet. I've went through the book, went through the character creation process, but didn't actually play the game. I'll probably forget about it or it'll fall back in my mind. So watch the refresher to really get interested in it again. And there were even times when I'm like, do I want it to be Mothership, One on Death in Space, which is kind of like the Morkborg side of it, or like go back to Fate or find another system like Traveler. But I think Mothership is always going to be the one I fall back on because it has that really deadly atmospheric tone to it. Heck, even Firefly or Serenity popped in my mind when I was thinking about this because my hopes are, which really ties a little bow on the whole idea, is do I want it to be how sci-fi do I want it to be? Like how dark, how gloom, how deadly gloom, not groom, gloom. Yeah, there's a wedding happening. Gloom is it going to be uh, for the character at hand once we make that character happen? Depending on the game, again, 80% chance it's Mothership. So the hopes are obviously it's going to be Sector Void. That's my very bland setting that it really has no firm foundation or no firm set locations or characters. It's just a style of like Fallout mixes with Firefly, and it's basically the Wild West. And when I do I want to include aliens? Do I not want to include aliens? Where it's like Firefly, it's mostly just humans and settlements out there after some civil war. But obviously, the overarching villain would be Yugo, which is the Universal Galactic Order. They are a bureaucratic organization that basically owns pockets of space and treats it as their own, like it's a business, but it all comes from Earth, or as Dragon Ball Bridge calls it, Earth. And so Earth is still there. That's going to be that's the home planet of the human civilization. But question is, how deep into the future will it be? And I was always thinking like, 3200, 3500 or so. Obviously post 3000s, like Mystery Science Theater 3000s. So I'm thinking after the 3000s. And my character, I want my character to be just some grunt worker, blue collar worker. And Mothership has classes. You have Teamsters, which are the blue collar workers. You also have the Marines, Android, and Scientists. I don't know if I'm going to include like full synthetic androids like from Fallout 4 or, like from Blade Runner, like the replicants. But definitely humans being the most dominant species or the only potential species. Again, kind of going back to what I talked about before regarding Markiplier's movie Iron Lung, where they did go on some lore um, exposition in the beginning of it with the cinematic voice of the movie. I don't know much about the game. I've heard the game doesn't really introduce more beyond like, oh, the stars are dying out and humanity's left to survive, fend for themselves. But obviously in Iron Lung there's this potential of an alien creature in the blood ocean, and so in the deep. So obviously aliens most likely exist unless it's you think about it, it's Panic, which Iron Lung could also be another great setting to use with Mothership because it's Panic and your only character. And again, it fits the bill. So that's why I think Mothership is more often going to be the choice. So the character is going to be I'm assuming like I've done a previous Sector Void mostly with AI. It was just a lonely traveler. He worked for Yugo and he was more of an explorer, kind of like a what do you call it? Like a representative of Yugo that goes to untapped sectors of the galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, and tries to recruit or look for potential resources for Yugo to have a reason to go there. So Yugo, as you know, as wide as they are, as influential as they make smart decisions. They're not going to just go conquer randomly. They want to send scouts, a scout. That's the word I'm trying to look for, a scout to go out there in sectors of the galaxy and excavate and look for a resource to see if it's worth their time. You know, they have unlimited resources and money and food and power and such for their own people, but they have very strict rule. I've always thought of Yugo as kind of an authoritarian regime conquering parts of space, so they are very like the Empire in a way. Obviously, they're very much like the Empire, inspired by, but more like business or suit wearing oriented. They're not like out there to kill, have like a space station that can blow up a planet with one beam, but like they more do it with bureaucratic BS. So think of it like a major company, like a conglomerate in space. So that's basically I'm trying to put like a suit on a stormtrooper, basically, with just it being a ruse, and they're like behind the scenes they're very dark, and there's a lot of trade and influence going on, a lot of lobbyists with Yugo, and there's barely any opposition. Maybe there's a rebellion in the works or something like that, but that can be a future one shot. But essentially, I want to focus on the worker of Yugo who's going out there into Sector Void. Sector Void is a Wild West where there are human settlements spread across this large sector of the galaxy, of the Milky Way galaxy, centered around one sun. And I haven't thought of the name of the sun yet. Like I haven't thought of the name of the planets. In my older AI ran campaign, one shot. I don't recall how far it went, but I remember I had settlements and human factions set up to really make it like Fallout, but it's in space. And Fallout has aliens, FYI. So with that in mind, again, I don't know how deep I want to go with aliens. What I was thinking before this recording was, what if this is the moment that humanity finds, might be spoiling it, but finds an alien species for the first time. Like humanity has been going across the stars, and it's been nothing but dirt and rock or molten lava and planets of untapped gas, ice, snow giants, planets, just random assortment of planets, barely habitable, but they can probably terraform. Like again, in Cowboy Bebop, they have terraforming. I don't remember Blade Runner does. I know Blade Runner is mostly on Earth, if I'm not mistaken, but um, could be mistaken there. Again, Blade Runner, if they went to the moon. But anyways, Serenity or Firefly, they terraform. It's always hinted that they do. Um, and so with Yugo, they can terraform, but again, Yugo is very specific or very picky on where they go and what they establish themselves as. But I'd say if they have at least one good reason to go into a sector, they will go for it. But they need a reason that's viable for them to make money off and to conquer. Again, bureaucratically or not diplomatically. So they will come in like a broom and just wipe out everyone else, whether they just push on through without really any disregard for life, with any regard for life. But with Sector Void, it is very far out. Humans have been there for probably a earlier settlement, or criminals, basically from closer to home factions scattered because of crime or civil war or little trying to avoid um, government, police or something, or the law, and they go to Sector Void. Sector Void has probably just very sparse locations of humans, probably no more than a couple hundred at best. I always thought there was like a central hub, like a trade route that kind of like Coruscant, but not as vast or as civilized, but more like it's like a casino. Basically, it's a pit stop casino where travelers in Sector Void can stop by. There's really an agreement that no one can fire on here, kind of like that hotel in the Continental in John Wick universe, John Wick lore. You can't shoot, you can't do anything stupid. You have to follow the rules. That's kind of like what this hub is. I think I just call it the hub. I don't remember if but yeah, it's basically a space station built around an asteroid, and it floats in kind of the center between the sun and the very farthest planet. So obviously there are planets in Sector Void, but it's called Void because people often avoid it, and there's really not much to do here. There's just factions, but there is a secret amount of wealth, resources that is very viable that these factions handle and protect from Hugo influence. They know of Hugo. Everyone knows who Hugo is. It's like, you know who this organization is, but they don't want Hugo to know about this resource. And I remember in the AI campaign, I had a resource, a term coined for it. It was basically like gold, like their gold. It was like some kind of crystal or energy, like energon from Transformers. It's basically their energon. Like they know it gives unlimited energy. Essentially, like in Fallout, you have that in the new show with cold fusion or fission, if I'm pronouncing it right. But essentially, a faction in Sector Void, or possibly several, again, I can always expand on it in the lore, um, discovered in probably several key locations in the sector, or at least on one main planet, there is that crystal. There's an unlimited power, and they want to keep the image that Sector Void is just complete in disarray. There's nothing here. It's just a pit stop. It has crime, organized crime more than anything. And there's nothing interesting about it. They again, the factions that run Sector Void, they do fight each other from time to time, but there is a general agreement, you know, not to do anything, not to go beyond just like occasional bouts or fights, but not really to take over each other. They just kind of hold their own stations, if that makes sense. Um, I'm sure I'll probably introduce a faction or two that are really dominant. They want to be their own little Yugo, but eventually Yugo, you know, has the scout. Maybe there was a rumor of this energy, this energon, and so Yugo sent a scout as usual, a lonely grunt. This mothership comes in, and it's very deadly and gloom. So in mothership, you have stress, you have panic, and sanity. You have all the body saves, the stat checks, the skills, and so that lonely scout is going to go and try to find anything of anything noteworthy and detail his log or detail his travels. And I'm going to also assume that in his ship, his little tiny spacecraft, his little spacecraft, can, you know, has light speed, or at least it comes off of some kind of a ring where it, and then like in Star Wars there's a light speed, allows you traveling for light speed, and undocks, and then he basically goes around the galaxy in just the ship itself, or its ship actually does have light speed like an X-wing. But he does he will eventually find, I don't go too far into it, but he will eventually find some faction, and maybe it's all based on one rumor. Maybe someone in the Sector Void tipped off, or like the rumor got out. But we can always again find, we can always discover that later on. I'm gonna go to this. I don't want to make this really session zero too much of, but I want to do this like an introductory for you guys. This could be like a precursor to section zero. That's kind of suitable, but session zero. Session zero, we're going to make the character and go through the character and kind of the what ifs of the my Sector Void campaign using Mothership. This is just more of a hopes and goals of the campaign, a short campaign at best. But again, it's always it's going to be. I hope it's very intriguing to you all. Comment below what you hope I can probably include, and also let me know what you guys think of including aliens or not. I know Mothership has that Cthulhu, you know, horror mythos behind it, that, you know, sci-fi of aliens and entities out there beyond human comprehension. But how deadly can, or how prominent should they be? Should it be like a small alien, like a microorganism of an alien, or like an actual, you know, human-sized alien, or like a little, you know, dog-sized, pet-sized alien? Again, I want that to be something I can work up to. I really want this to be the moment where humans discover aliens, whether they're intelligent or not. Maybe the water-based creatures, or like their space, you know, space whales or something like that. They're only existing in some kind of atmosphere or some kind of section of space. But yeah, let me know below what you think, if this should just be like Firefly, where it's mainly just humans at all, or there's going to be some eventual running with an alien. Because again, Mothership has that mechanic for dealing with those that Cthulhu mythos style entities. But do I want to have that in Sector Void just yet? So I've always been kind of a fan of Firefly, where it's just mostly humans, even though like I'm also a fan of Star Wars, but Star Wars has everything. It has aliens and giant creatures and what have you. So like the Kessel Run, it has that giant creature in it. So yeah, let me know what you guys think below so far of how Sector Void could pan out to be. based on what I've said so far, if you're familiar with my Sector Void from my AI campaign much earlier in the channel, I've forgotten a lot about it, or at least parts of it, but that's the general scope. Yugo, Universal Galactic Orderer, more of a business, a dark business, dark money. They take over sections of space where they feel it's worthy of their time. They send out little scouts. They have their own, they have their own police force of such. There's little stormtroopers. We can go to that later on, like different types, like how there's different stormtroopers in Star Wars. And then the Wild West Sector Void itself. It's going to have factions, and like think of it as Fallout, where maybe Sector Void has a hidden secret beyond that crystal I mentioned, that energon type of energy source. But yeah, that's what I'm hoping, because I want Hugo to have a reason to come over to Sector Void, and that reason is the energy source. That's really not really a spoiler, because that was in my, I think that was in my earlier campaign. So it's not really, it gives a reason for Hugo to go in. I don't think they just send scouts randomly. They need like some kind of tip off or information to go there, and they don't want to waste their resources on just a hunch. So yeah, that's really it. Let me know what you guys think below. Please feel free to like, share, subscribe, and comment as always. And till next time, thanks for watching.